You're the producer here, and we are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and I'm joined by Seth Wintrob. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right. I hope you're ready, everyone, because today's show, it's a bit Tesla heavy. It was a big week for Tesla with the earnings, so a lot of new information coming out and everything. So we're going to focus mostly on that. So if you're not a big fan of hearing about Tesla news, you can skip this one. But if you're not, jump in because we have a lot to discuss. But let's start before that because I didn't write an article about it or anything, but Seth wanted to discuss it because it's clearly deep into his world because it touched both Tesla. Sorry about that. Touched both Tesla and Apple. This whole thing coming out right now because Tim Higgins from the Wall Street Journal is coming out with a new book called Power Play. And have you got it yet?
No, Tim was nice enough to offer to send it to us, but I guess he sent it to the LA Times first. So
yeah, LA Times got it. They did a quick review, and that's what happens when they promote a new book. Like they send it to a bunch of people, they review it, and they try to pick what are like headline newsworthy stuff in their reviews to like boost marketing for the book. And of course the LA Times reviewer was Russell Mitchell, was quite a detractor of Tesla, if you can say that. And he picked all the worst stuff about Tesla in it, of course. But the one that caught a lot of the headlines is the fact that, well, the claim in the book. I'm not again. This is all from the LA Times review, so we don't know exactly how it's framed in the book, but because of course they don't disclose all their sources and everything. But it lays out the saying that basically Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, a few years back, reached out to Tesla to buy Tesla and called directly Elon Musk. They have direct phone conversation with Elon Musk in which he proposed that Apple would buy Tesla. And apparently Musk was receptive to the idea, but then he said that he wanted to be CEO. And this is almost like verbatim in the book claims to have like a transcript of it basically because he says Elon responded, "Okay, but I'm CEO," and then Tim was like, "Yeah, I have no problem you saying CEO of Tesla," and then Elon is like, "No, I want to be CEO of Apple," and then again apparently they have a transcript because they say that Tim Cook literally said "F you" to Elon, and now this is
and then hung up.
What?
And then hung up.
And then hung up too. Yeah. Like apparently they have a full transcript of it. But then, so here's what I'm not understanding. This is in the book. If this is in the book, Tim would have to have like pretty great sources to put that in the book because we already knew about like this story, but in a completely different angle. Because first of all, last year Tim Cook said that he never talked to Elon Musk in his life, never had any contact with Elon Musk. And then Elon sort of confirmed that by saying that he did reach out to Apple at some point for them to buy Tesla. So it would be the other way around, not Tim Cook reaching out to Tesla, but Elon Musk reaching out to Tim Cook. But then Elon said that Tim Cook never took his call. And he also backed the idea from Tim Cook that they never talked, never communicated anything. So I don't know. And now this is all coming out, and Elon is using that to discredit the whole book. Basically, is that your angle? Though, you had a good point earlier when we were talking about it. Fair, you said that he called it boring too, which
that's a Trump move, and Trump's always doing that when he doesn't want you to read a book or watch something.
And it's a good angle because what is worse than reading a boring book? Like even me who is looking for information about Tesla, there's a new book about it that apparently have sources. I would want to read it, but if you tell me that it's boring, I'm going to stay away from it.
Yeah. So it does seem like I want it to be true because it's salacious and it's like that would be really hilarious to be a fly on the wall in that kind of conversation. But there's a lot of stuff that really doesn't make sense. Like,
doesn't add up.
If Elon Musk is going to Apple and saying rescue us because that's the position they were in at this point, then he's probably not in a position, even for Elon, to demand to be the CEO of Apple.
There's no leverage whatsoever.
Yeah,
he's completely in the losing side of it.
Right. Yeah. So that to me doesn't seem like I could see Elon, in a different time in a different place
Mm.
demanding that. I could see I don't know if Tim Cook really swears that much, but if somebody had said that to Tim Cook, I'm sure he would feel like saying that. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility when you think about it, but there's a couple like deeper things that really don't make sense, and so I think it's probably BS. And the
Mm.
way that Tim in subsequent tweets framed it, it was more like this was the banter. This is like the legend, or this is like the story going around Tesla.
Yeah, he said that. He said this was a story going around Tesla back when they were like trying to launch the Model X in 2015 or something. But
Right.
here's the thing: like, it sounds like you had a transcript of that thing. Like you're saying, like, quoting what they were saying. So like this is more than a story a little bit. But the biggest thing to me that that makes me think that this is not accurate is like from Tim Cook's point of view. Like Tim Cook's in this whole thing looks like the dumb dumb here, in my opinion. Like, especially in retrospect now, like if in 2015 Elon Musk reached out to you to buy Tesla for a few $1 billion with a Apple with $200 million in the bank, you go for it, man. It would have been a very smart business move in hindsight. But Tim Higgins just handed in like a great reason not to do it. Of course, the only reason not to do it would be that you have this crazy CEO that's telling you that he wants to be not only CEO of Tesla but Apple too. Then that would be a good reason to kill the deal. Like, no, dude, I'm not gonna let you be CEO of a completely unrelated company because of it. But this is not happening right now. Like Tim Cook says, I never talked to the guy. So yeah, I tend to believe.
Yeah, I
Tim,
mean, there could have been some overtures, like Tim's people and Elon's people, like they were. I mean, M&A people were probably like, "Hey, Elon's willing to sell Tesla, but he wants to be, whatever." And maybe Tim Cook didn't respond to that, and that was an fu to Elon. So some like I'm trying to like kind of walk it back if this could be real, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's just salacious, and it's kind of fun to think about, but it's probably not really based in much reality. Speaking of salacious, we should really briefly talk about Trevor Milton, who
Oh, yeah.
got indicted today. Yeah, your mic sounds better now, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, Shane. Yeah, I just fixed it. Yeah, the two. I wasn't gonna discuss it much, but already two people in the comments are asking for it. I guess we can talk about it real quick. But yeah, Trevor Milton, the founder of Nikola Motors, he was indicted this week on 3 counts of fraud over all the false claims he made about their electric trucks and their fuel cell trucks. And it's basically, I mean, it's basically the Heidenberg report. I mean, I watched the press conference from the federal prosecutors in New York, and the case that they laid out was basically Heidenberg's case. If you don't know, Heidenberg is like a short selling firm in that targets companies where they believe there's fraud, and then they release a very well researched reports on them.
And they make the money by shorting the company.
Yeah, and I hope that they are making good money on that short, because their research was very good, and yeah, now now to give both sides of the story here, Milton came out with, well, his defense team came out with a statement. He did plead not guilty after surrendering to the authorities, and now he's out on bail, on $100 million bail that he was able to put against some big properties that he bought through selling some of his stocks that you managed to sell through pumping the hell out of the stocks with those claims, those clearly false claims. So that's crazy that he was able to use that to his advantage here. But yeah, he basically said that it was an attack by the government on green technologies and on entrepreneurship too, because of course Milton is a great entrepreneur with a bunch of failed business until Nikola that's built on lies, but still great entrepreneur. And yeah, and he even said that every entrepreneur, every executive in America should be horrified by this investigation and those charges. And I agree that if you're an executive in America and you see those charges, you should be horrified, especially if you have a tendency to fake videos about your working prototype by rolling down hills. If you're one of those CEOs, you should definitely be horrified. If not, though, you should be okay. You can sleep at night. I think that lawsuit, that those charges shouldn't
That
be.
had to be the easiest. Like, the federal prosecutors were probably just like, "Oh, here's our work for us." Hindenburg
yeah.
did it, and like, I'm surprised it took as long as it did. And even more surprising, Nikola, the company, is still worth like $6 billion. It's crazy to me. Like, what is?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they have. I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, like
Contracts or
I don't
something.
want to throw the whole company under the bus, because I know there's great talents there. Like they hire like legit engineers that are working on real products and everything. And of course, I'm not the biggest fan of fuel cell hydrogen. I don't think it's I think it's a great solution. For semi trucks, it makes more sense than for passenger cars, for sure. But even then, I think that batteries are just improving at a fast enough pace that by the time you have any kind of meaningful hydrogen distribution infrastructure put in place, clean hydrogen too, which is not the case right now. We don't have that. I think that batteries will just surpass the use case and the economics so much that it won't be worth it. So I think in that sense, it doesn't make much sense. But to be fair to Nikola, they're also working on battery electric trucks. And technically, hydrogen is an electric truck. It's just that the electricity is produced through fuel cells. But a lot of the technology is similar. So there is some value in the company, 5-6 billions. Though I agree that it's insane. It's insane. It says a lot about the market right now.
Right.
But yeah, ultimately though, I think this prosecution is going to be great. Not just great to like remove a clearly toxic guy in a community like Trevor Milton, but to just put everyone on notice in the investment space, in the EV investment space right now, because like we've talked a lot about all those SPAC deals. There's been SPAC boom, which is good because it brought a lot of money into electric vehicles, and that money, some of that money is being used in the right way to advance the cause. But it also attracted it made the whole space very noisy, and it attracted a lot of people, fraudster like Milton, to take advantage of that and make some money. And
Yeah.
now people know that people are watching, and you have to be careful. So that's the positive of it, I guess.
Right. All right. Should we talk about real news?
Real news, sure. Let's jump in. So Tesla on Monday, they released their earnings for the Q2 2021, and good on them because they beat the expectation on Wall Street on both revenue, with a nice little juicy, just shy of $12 billion for the quarter, and big beat on profit with 145 per share. I think the 190, 194 was what Wall Street's expectation. So like this is like a 50% beat. It's great, and about like a $400 million dollar beat on revenue. A lot of good news. Great gross margin on the automotive business. Of course, I would have expected that with all the price increases in the U.S. The cash balance went down, but that's because they had a big repayment of debt. So still, that's good news. Tesla is improving the balance sheet, and they still have $16 billion cash. So there's nothing to worry on that front. I think the but here what happened. Like everything I just said, you think, hey, this is like great quarter. Tesla stock is gonna rise, but to be fair, it did today and yesterday. But right after this was released, it didn't, because a lot of the other things that were released around the earnings that weren't directly related to Tesla's financial performance that quarter weren't that great of news. The biggest one I think that is worrying people is the 4680 cell. So Tesla released an update on production. They released both an update in the shareholders letter, in which they released some. They said that they have now successfully validated performance and lifetime of the 4680 cell produced at the Caddo facility, that their pilot plant in Fremont. But they say that the field, I'm quoting here, Field quality and yield are variable levels, so that it means that they have variable cells. But our focus is now on improving the 10% of manufacturing processes that's currently bottleneck production output. While substantial progress has been made, we still have work ahead of us before we can achieve volume production. Internal crash testing of a structural battery pack with a single piece front casting has been successful. Okay, that's good. But here's that, like the 10% manufacturing or processes that's currently production output. Like this is a big deal. Like 10% sounds not like much of a big deal, but most often, like it's a small percentage of your production process that requires the most work. Like it's the most engineering to solve, and Tesla made it clear that they still have a lot of work to do on that front. During the call too, they said that they are still they still expect that by the end of next year they're gonna have an annual output of 100 gigawatt hour. So this is very good news. But then what happens between now and then, though? That's the big question, because we knew that Model Ys at Fremont, not Fremont, Gigafactory Texas and Gigafactory Berlin need those cells. They need the 4680 because those vehicles are supposed to come out with a structural battery pack, which requires those cells. Now, it doesn't look that they're going to have any kind of significant volume production for those by the end of the year. Now, in the call, Elon still said that they are aiming for production at both of those facilities by the end of the year. So that's a good news. But at this point, because of the situation with the 4680 cells, it doesn't sound like it's going to be any meaningful production. So the market needs to be ready for that. And we were counting on that for Tesla's growth during the second half of the year. So now it looks like Tesla's growth in the second half of the year is going to be somewhat limited. Still some, like there's still optimization in Shanghai, still optimization in Fremont, but we need to be ready for limitation on that front.
Yeah, and do you think this is why Tesla canceled the Plaid Plus?
Yeah, the Plaid Plus for sure was, but of course we discussed that before. Like we think that they will also wanted to optimize the Plaid. They just wanted like people to focus on that, so they probably that too. But yeah, so this is resulting in delays in everything now because the Tesla Semi also needs those cells. So last week we just reported that Tesla on the actual production of Tesla Semi has been making great progress. Drive axle production completed, debugging on the general assembly line, but in order to produce that in any meaningful volume, they're going to need those cells, and they don't have them. So they announced that they were kind of weird on that, on what they announced on the shareholders letter. They said that the launch of the Tesla Semi program has been pushed to next year. So they didn't say production, because I assume that Tesla is still looking to produce some Tesla Semi for their own use. They always said that they're going to be their first customers, their first own customers with the Tesla Semi program. But I assume that by the launch of the program, they mean next year, the customer deliveries, which is still a big bummer, because we know that a bunch of customers that have like deposit on this since is it 2017, 2018?
2017, I think.
Yeah, I think it was 2017 when they started taking and it was supposed to come in 2019. So it's starting to be a while now. And of course, there's a bunch of trucks coming behind them too, like the e-Cascadia from Freightliner. There's Volvo. There's a bunch of them.
Daimler.
Daimler is Freightliner too, but
yeah,
they have other brands. The eFuso. There's a bunch of them, so none of them is really as long range as the Tesla Semi is claiming to be, but
not Nikola.
A lot of people are claiming vaporware now, and like Tesla, until they deliver, like they are proving them true when they say that.
You know what's crazy is that whole event. That event was the Semi and the Roadster, and they were both supposed to come like by 2020, right, or 2019 even.
2019 for the Tesla Semi, 2020 for the Roadster.
Yeah. So that event could have never happened, and they wouldn't miss any of their production targets. They would have, Yeah.
And the other big one is Cybertruck too, that requires the 4680 cells, and Tesla was kind of weird about the Cybertruck during the whole. So right before the earnings, there was a rumor that the Cybertruck would go into production before the Model Y in Texas, which I mean, we didn't even report on it because it seems far-fetched. And the only thing that the shareholders they said is like they sort of disprove that rumor. They're saying that we still plan for the Cybertruck to come to production in Texas after the Model Y. But they didn't say the timing. The timing officially, if you go on Tesla's website, it still says by the end of 2021, which is increasingly looks less likely and less likely. But then Tesla was asked twice during the conference call about it. They're like, can you update us? Is it still planned for the end of the year? And they couldn't say no. They couldn't say yes. All they said is, again, after Model Y. But I mean, the way they were talking about it, it's like they said that they're still in the alpha phase of validation. So they don't even have any beta units yet. Elon admitted that there's going to be a lot of challenges to bring into production too. It's, if you look here on this page here, like Tesla keeps updating that little chart here that shows all their production capacity everywhere. And you see in Texas, you have Model Y in construction. Cybertruck is still in development; it's not even in construction, and that is supported by drone videos of the plant right now. You see the Model Y factory is deep into the activity, but Cybertruck, there's not a lot going on there. So yeah, and then again, we go back to the 4680. This truck's required a 4680, and most of it, the capacity is going to go to the few Model Ys that they're going to be able to produce by the end of the year, and that's it, I think. So I think the start of production is going to have to be pushed to next year, and now the big thing is like when volume production is going to be available for the Cybertruck. And I mean, I would be pleasantly surprised if there's any volume production by the end of next year.
I was just thinking the same thing. Like, just with everything going on, it almost feels like Cybertruck is going to be hard to find in 2022. Like,
I mean, for new orders, we're talking about impossible to find because Tesla has like 1 million reservation on it already.
Yeah, I wonder if they still have those. I wonder if
I mean, it's $100, so I don't know like how like it's that big of a deal. I have 2 of them, like, I'm not really requesting like a refund on any of them really, because like it's $100, like, and I think it's actually, if there's any value to them, of course, we've discussed before that there's not that much value anymore in the reservation for a Tesla because of unless you're like in California or something, unless you are, I should say, near where it's going to be produced. So in this case, it might be Texas, might be better than California. I don't know. Even though Texas will need to change their law because technically, I think Tesla might have to like ship their cars out of
state. Yeah, that's crazy.
And then deliver them in state for whatever they sell in Texas. Of course, most of the production coming out of Texas is going to be sold outside of Texas anyway.
But it's still crazy.
It's a big market.
It's crazy that Tesla didn't negotiate something with Texas and putting their huge factory there. That, I mean, even like the fact that they're building this huge factory in Texas and you still can't really buy a Tesla in Texas, the normal way. You have to buy it online and have it shipped from, and it can't get fixed. It's just like Tesla really should have done some better negotiations there.
Yeah,
I guess they had Tulsa.
Yeah, they have 2 problems on that front, I think. But first of all, I mean, dealership money goes deep into politics in Texas, so that's an issue to start with. That's an issue that is hard to fix. But also, apparently, and I'm not an expert in Texas law, to be fair, but my understanding for talking to people there, like the state legislature there is like they meet, like they are extremely anti-government, like federal government, well, even like their own like state government, they meet not very regularly, not often, for small periods of times. So it's hard to get things passed in Texas, apparently. So like Tesla, every time they try, they don't have enough time to get the momentum to get things passed. So it's a whole nightmare. Okay, one of the other things that came out during the earnings is Elon I cannot say the word Elon anymore. Sort of explain how the opening of the Supercharger network is going to happen. And he basically confirmed what we talked about over the last few weeks, that it's going to be through the app. and people are just going to manage their charging station through the app with a credit card on there, and they're going to tell like what stall they are in, and they're going to raise electricity there. The only important new information that came out of that is we were talking, so how is the onboarding going to work in order to be careful on how it's going to affect the traffic on the network? Because like if you do that, if you don't do deals with specific automakers to like, oh, we're gonna onboard like just the Ford Mach-E, for example, then we can manage the fleet. We know exactly how many Ford Mach-E there's out there. We know where they are and everything. If you just say, all right, you want to use the Supercharger network, download the app, put your credit card on there, and go to the charging station. Of course, there's still a problem with that. We're talking here about Europe. In the US is going to have the adapter thing, but they did say that the adapter is going to be available at the Supercharger station, so anyone's going to be able to use them too. So I think Tesla's just going to have to test the adapter with each car first, just like every charging station manufacturer tests their charging station with different cars. So nothing big there. So how do you manage the new capacity on the network, the new demand on the network? And Elon said that they're gonna introduce dynamic pricing. So there's gonna be more dynamic pricing. So they're gonna increase the price depending on your charge rate. And depending on how much time you spend at the station. Basically, they want to incentivize spending less time per charging session. So this is going to be how they're going to manage the new capacity, and of course they're going to use the money they make from that to increase the capacity. So this is about what we expected from what we heard. He said the timing is by the end of the year. I won't hold my breath about that. But we know like that the infrastructure bill is about to pass. Apparently, we know that there's 7.5 billions in that for charging stations. And what we are assuming right now, we don't have the final. Like I've been trying to find like a copy of the final text, but it's been hard to get. I would assume that in the final text, Tesla knows that there's some kind of requirements for your stations to be open to all electric vehicles in order to get some funding for that. So Tesla wants some of that money, and that's I think that's part of why they were doing it now. It would make sense. So I think whenever whenever they're opening the faucet for that money coming in, I think that's when Tesla is gonna start to get moving on that opening the Supercharger network front. That would make sense.
Yeah.
All right. Where we at? We can move from the earnings. Talking about the earnings. We don't have a sponsor for this episode of the podcast, but we do have our Electrek shirts, the nice Electrek shirts with the electric vehicles of note. You can go down on any
Keep going.
any article on Electrek, and you can click on it right there, and you get to our Teespring store, and you can get yourself a shirt. And now it's available in gray too. It wasn't available in gray last week when we discussed it. Now it is, and it's picking up the gray. I knew it. I knew people would like the gray. And starting the sales are picking up for the gray versus the white. It's coming back. All right, what we have next? Oh yeah, that was an exclusive from Electrek I had earlier this week. So I talked to a few sources at Electrek at Tesla, and they detailed to me a new shift that's happening. It's being implemented right now, a new shift in the retail strategy at Tesla. And I think it's very interesting because to me, what it sounds like, the shift from back in 2019 when Elon was saying everything's going online, we're closing almost all our stores and everything. And of course, we were extremely critical of that plan. It seems a little bit butch, and sure enough, they reversed that plan a few weeks later, and we later find out that Tesla wasn't a cash crunched back then, and that's what was motivating the move to slash costs by closing those stores and laying off a ton of people. Now they didn't end up laying off a lot of people in that move, but they did end up slashing the compensation for the retail employees significantly. So that was their compromise instead of closing all the stores. Now this new shift is going to result in closing a lot of stores, but there's still going to be more stores. So they're just changing where the store is going to be. So back in 2018, Tesla made the shift towards high foot traffic areas, malls, high-end shopping districts and all that stuff. And now Tesla figured out that it's not worth it anymore. The way it was explained to me by sources is that they feel like now that Tesla is the destination now. So they feel like they are. It's not a fair relationship that they have with those malls. Like they are paying high rent for there, but the malls are actually the ones benefiting from it. Like, and they admitted that the malls, to be fair, like some of those malls, they said that it's beneficial for them to have a Tesla store in there. It does increase the foot traffic that they found out. So Tesla is like, all right, we're helping you, and you're not helping us. So like, that's just they're paying crazy rent for those places. So now Tesla is gonna close those locations, and instead they're gonna focus on low rent location warehouses to build delivery centers. And they're gonna keep what it was explained to me is they're gonna try to negotiate with some of those malls where they already have charging stations at their parking lots installed, and they're gonna try to keep a location at the parking lot, so not inside the malls with the higher end stuff, but keep those charging spot to manage a test fleet. And a lot of the employees, so that's the big thing too, they're not firing any employees. Like the retail employee, the head count is gonna increase actually. But how it works right now is, so when you buy online a Tesla, whether or not you went to a store, you get assigned a Tesla advisor that's at a store. That Tesla advisor is assigned a store. They either work there or like they're around there and everything. That not necessarily, they don't necessarily have an office there, but they're working through that store. Tesla find out that a lot of people don't always go there at all, or if they go, it's very limited. They don't really need to go there. So a lot of employees are now going to work remotely. A lot of Tesla advisors, and when someone is placing an order online, they won't be assigned a Tesla advisor at the store. They're sort of, for lack of a better word, going to be a bunch of advisors working at one giant Tesla virtual store, and those employees or every time someone places an order online, that buyer is going to be assigned a Tesla advisor at that giant central store that has no physical location. And if they want to have a test drive, they can direct them to one of those cheaper new locations that they're going to have in warehouses and parking lots and things like that. And the advisor can remotely unlock the car, remotely give them access to the car, and everything of that, of course, is going to get through the Tesla app too. Tesla is investing a lot in the Tesla app to be useful before you even own a Tesla. Again, we talked about putting the Supercharger. That's one aspect of it. This is one of the other aspects of it. Is going to be more important on that front. And yeah, so basically cost cutting for Tesla a lot, and they're going to be able to expand their physical presence for a lot cheaper because there's going to be more store. And they're still going to have those giant locations that you see on this picture here, for example. They call them Tesla centers now, where they both have service and they can still have a showroom there. But that's going to be more emphasized towards service. There's going to have smaller like location for those test fleet. So yeah, a big shift in their.
I think that's probably a good idea. Like I think the malls were good when nobody had heard of Tesla, and it was kind of like, oh, we'll catch some people walking by who've never heard of Tesla, and they'll stop in and they'll do some perusing, and maybe they'll want to check it out. It was more like an advertisement, not that Tesla advertises. But now everybody's heard of Tesla. So as you stated, like now if you're going to a Tesla thing, it's not because you've never heard of Tesla. It's because you're curious about a car or some stationary storage or solar or whatever. So yeah, the mall doesn't make sense. I mean, like the way it sounded is like the mall should be paying Tesla because they're bringing people into the malls, which obviously they're not going to do. But
and the rent on those malls, like people don't
it's crazy.
know those, they're super high. Like it's tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars per month.
Yeah, and now Tesla's less. I mean, if you want, like a lot of malls have, like off-site where you can go test drive, but like really you want the whole like experience. You want to have like charging stations. You want to be able to, walk around back to the service area. You want to be able to do all the things that you do at a a quote unquote car dealership.
Mhm.
And there's no car dealerships at malls. I mean, they'll have a Ford Mustang sitting in the middle of the mall for you to look at, but that's an advertisement. So yeah, this makes sense. That's an evolution. That one time that Elon was going to fire everybody, that seemed like maybe he had jumped the gun. So this is it sounds like it's going to be a more measured rollout. So that's good.
Yeah. And funny enough, like this is when like our relationship with Elon went sour. Because I did a lot of reporting during that time, critical of that move. Like I was saying that this is just a way. Like I said I didn't like that they were just saying like we're gonna fire everyone and we're gonna close those stores. Like this is a crazy idea. Doesn't sound like a good one. Then when they reversed that move, proving me right on that front, they basically hid the fact that they were using that to just slash the compensation of all the retail employees too. So I was critical of that. And then that's when Elon said that I was anti-Tesla and all that stuff and everything. But in retrospect, what it sounded like is that the way he justified it, and we had a conversation on Twitter at that point in DMs, that he was explaining to me that like we were right, like that's what they were doing. Is just that they were doing it because they were about to go bankrupt. If they didn't do that, they were on a giant cash crunch, and they needed to do that. And Elon was like mad about us at us for reporting it like that, but we didn't even know that. Like they hid that fact from everyone that they were in this giant cash rush at the time. This came out like after the fact. Look, that's more like of a stock price protection move, I feel like, because the right thing to do would have been like to come out and like, look, we are in a giant cash crunch and we have to slash employee compensation in order to fix that. Like people are like, all right, do you want Tesla to die or you want employees to slash their compensation? Like most people are like, all right, if the Tesla dies, we lost our job anyway, so we gonna take the compensation, the reduction. But if you do that, of course, then the stock price crashes, and then that affects a lot different people, rich people. So they didn't do that. So you can see that move however you want. But I just don't understand how Elon like can say that we went anti-Tesla because the way we reported on that back then. Like this kind of blows my mind. If anything, we were just pro Tesla employees. That's what we were.
Yeah, that was a weird time because like we thought we were helping out the community and everybody was that's when it's kind of like, oh, we're not really a Tesla community, we're an Elon Musk fan group.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. That's when you can kind of draw that line. Like you can enjoy Elon Musk as much as you want, but we are covering electric vehicles and electric vehicle drivers. That's, we represent our readers. We're not beholden to any corporation or person.
Yeah. It's just like the intent. I'm always saying that, but intentions matter. Like our intentions weren't anti-Tesla. And our reporting would have been a lot different if it was disclosed back then and Tesla was on a giant cash crunch. Like we would have mentioned that. Like that is a justification for those moves that we didn't have. But our intention were always good. All right, big software update this week. A lot of new features that came out in this new 2021.24 software update that is being pushed. I haven't got it yet. Maybe I'm blacklisted. We're blacklisted. Oh boy.
By the way, I saw, I think maybe Green or somebody, a nice way to get the latest updates is to go on your Tesla dashboard and say you want to get updates first and then turn it on and then turn it off. I haven't tried it, but
when you say dashboard, do you mean on the website or
no, on the actual car? Oh. And you go, you know how you have an option to get
it's toggle on, but you need on and off. You do
toggle it off and then toggle it back on again. Which
then it does the next update like pops out right away.
You get the updates real quick.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that after the show. All right, so in this update, you have Disney Plus coming to the Tesla Theater app. So with that now, like Tesla basically has all the major like streaming service with Netflix, YouTube, Hulu, now Disney Plus. There's a car wash mode, interesting one that makes sure that all the windows are locked, the charge port is locked, disable the windshield wipers so that you don't go to the car wash and then the windshield wiper starts. A bunch of those features like parking sensor lock remove too, so that you don't have all these alerts when the things that go on you. But yeah, you should. I think Tesla recommends a contactless though, contactless washing, but so that shouldn't be a problem for that. Put the cars in neutral too if it's an automatic one that goes to it. All those nice little feature that makes it easier to go through one of those car wash. So that's nice.
Yeah, going through a car wash has always been a little bit stressful for me
Yeah.
because the neutral is kind of a hard thing to get into. It's easier now, but it used to be kind of stressful. And of course, if you stay inside, all the sensors are going off, and it's a little stressful.
Yep. Mirror auto dimming. So now, if you have one of the cars equipped with the auto dimming, you can toggle that on and off. So, can't believe that wasn't an option before, but it is now. Dash cam improvements. So now there's the car is gonna use its AI, much like Sentry mode, to try to detect an event or word recording and record it automatically. So before you had to click on the little icon with the red recording on it to save. What is it? Save the last minute or something like that, last 2 minutes or whatever. So now they're gonna detect an event. So a safety event they call it, such as an accident or an airbag deployment. So and automatically record those the event itself. So it's basically like a black box in an airplane. Another change, the range display. You can now switch it from a percentage to a miles just by clicking on it or tapping on it on the range display battery icon. So that's
Are you going to leave it on percent or miles?
Always kilometers for me, but yeah,
kilometers.
I always leave it on kilometers. I like to see it when I drive, like just how faster it goes down, like on kilometers wise. Like even though like I drive like 10 kilometers. And it goes down by like 15. I'm like, all right, I need to slow down a little bit or something like that.
Right.
It's not calculating it. All right.
It's kind of like a laptop. My MacBook has a similar option there.
Mm-hmm.
How much time you got left versus how much battery you have left.
I don't know if I had that, but I leave it. It's always just on percentage from my laptop. You have a hotspot now. You can use the Wi-Fi hotspot when you're driving, so you can enable that. So it's basically turns your car into a hotspot. So for people that want to enjoy some of the features that you need to have the premium connectivity for it, which is $10 a month, you can now have that now and use just the hotspot on your phone.
Yeah, I've had, when I read that title, I was like, oh, cool, that they're allowing you to use the data that you're paying for. And I guess it's only $10 a month, but as a hotspot for your
you
other
thought it
devices.
was the other way around? Like,
yeah. I was like, oh, sweet. And then, of course, I was wrong.
But I think this way is more useful. That's more for like what people are going to want to use it. Also, if you have Wi-Fi, do people that have just the 3G on the original MCU, is there Wi-Fi on that too? I think so. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there's Wi-Fi on every Tesla ever.
Yeah. So people that are gonna be in a region that they're gonna lose the 3G.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of region are retiring the 3G network now. So if you have one of these original like Model S or anything, you can be able to at least use your phone to use some of the connectivity features inside the car. So that's great news. So that's a big part of the update here. This hotspot thing. And finally, languages. Tesla is adding Hungarian, Romanian, and Russian to the language. So you can expect some expansion in those regions now that they are available.
Yeah, Russia would be a big one, theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, by the end of the year, there's supposed to be, or early next year, there's supposed to be superchargers in Russia. So when that happens, you know that Tesla is getting closer to expanding into those markets because service centers and superchargers are the thing to look for when you're in expansion. All right, we have 2 more news items to discuss, and then we're going to jump into the comment section. So if you have a question right now, put them in the comment section, and we'll get to them in like 4 or 5 minutes. Megapack, Tesla opened up a configurator for the Megapack, and they actually release some pricing. You can configure your own Megapack system, just like the Power Pack used to have a configurator. And it starts with just one. Of course, if you start with just one, which is 3 megawatt hour, so like for like it would be a big commercial project with just a single unit as big as a container you drop in and it's already ready to install. It includes installation. It's $1,200,035, $235,000. You also have an annual maintenance fee of $6,500, so it's not cheap for maintenance. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I figured, why does it need maintenance? It's pretty solid. There's not much going on, like no moving parts. Like maybe that's monitoring. Like somebody's at some control room somewhere, making sure it's good.
Yeah, I tried to look. That sometimes Tesla like have more information on those. They tell you like when the maintenance fee going for. I couldn't find anything. And they do say that it escalate 2% per year.
Well,
it's significant.
Yep. Especially if you're dropping a lot.
If it included something like Tesla's auto bidder fee software or something like that, it would make more sense.
Right.
Maybe it does. We just don't know. I'm just talking here.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, one that's like it's high for one Megapack, but like the price goes down when you have more. Like, but it goes down by a volume. I mean, like it goes up, but not per kilowatt hour, or I should say megawatt hour, since it's 3 megawatt hour per units. The default one is 10 megawatts, 10 megapacks, and the price also goes down per kilowatts, because at 10 megapacks it's $10 million, so it goes down to $1 million per pack, and which gives you a price per kilowatt hour, a pretty good price of $327. But that shouldn't, you shouldn't assume that that's like the battery price per kilowatt hour, because there's like a giant power inverter in every one of those, and like a giant one, that 800 kilowatt ones. Those are not cheap. Power electronics is not cheap, and so you have 10 of those in there. So I would assume that the price per kilowatt hour of the battery level is closer to $250 maybe. And they also describe the installation process. You go with the project design. So after you put the $5,000 deposit on it, they contact you, design a project, they go to the permitting system, then the construction of it, then the commissioning, and then you have backup capability for critical load. We did a few other configuration. If you put 100 of them in there, the price goes down to $280 per kilowatt hour. So yeah, I would assume actually, it has to be closer to 200 kilowatts. Per $200 per kilowatt hours for at the battery level. All right. Last piece of news we're going to discuss is the Mercedes-Benz presence at IAA. So we've been discussing a lot about IAA because Electrek's going to have a presence there. The whole team, if Seth can get his passport in time. So State Department, if you're listening, just get Seth his passport that he forgot to renew in time.
Well,
but
I didn't forget to renew it in time necessarily. I thought there was like a normal renew time. It turns out it's gone from like 1 month to like 3 to 4 months to renew a passport. So it's not entirely my fault. I'll throw a little bit of blame at COVID or whatever.
It's Biden. It's Biden's fault.
Right, Biden. Yeah. Thanks. Actually, Obama.
Yeah.
Thanks, Obama.
But I will be there if all goes well, if I can get into the country and everything. And then Micah's going to be there too, because there's a lot of bike stuff there too. And we're even going to have a booth there and everything. It's going to we're going to have a big presence, and we're going to check out everything at the show. There's going to be a lot of new electric cars unveiled there. We already reported on Audi's expected to bring the first Artemis electric vehicle from there, super efficient car. Now Mercedes announced a bunch of cars. So the new EQE is going to be there, which is expected to be a sedan, I think.
Looks like a sedan.
We'll showcase a sporty, comfortable electric business saloon. It's going to be a saloon, so yeah, sedan. The car combines dynamic performance and handling with relaxed travel and sets the new benchmark in its class. So I would assume it's the equivalent of the E-Class. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's going to be a smaller sedan than the EQS, sportier. Then there's going to be the first battery electric Mercedes AMG, so that's going to be an interesting one. A saloon too, so maybe an EQS type, like an AMG version of the EQS.
I was
would
thinking
assume.
that's going to be pretty interesting because the EQS is already a pretty interesting vehicle. Like,
maybe a plaid competitor, more or less plaid competitor.
well, yeah, I mean that's maybe not plaid, but
the
it's
AMG. I mean, the AMG.
Yeah.
An EQS, an AMG version of the EQS would be kind of a plaid competitor.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't think they'll make it as fast as the plaid off the line. I just don't think they can. But I think, I mean, you'd have to put crazy weird tires on it too.
Yeah.
But it'll be, Model S type speed, like performance. Ludicrous, maybe not plaid.
And Mercedes has great handling and drive performance, especially on an AMG model.
And they also have this level 3 autonomy, which we're looking forward to checking out while we're in Germany there.
Yeah, if we can get a test drive, that would be great. Mercedes Maybach also, that's going to be an electric concept, but you can expect like a extremely high luxury type vehicle concept. And then the EQB is going to have, I think we already seen the car, but it's going to be a European debut, basically. I think that's how they're presenting it. Well, yeah, a ton of great stuff from Mercedes coming there, but a lot of other, I think we're going to hear a lot more in the next month about what's going to be unveiled there, but Mercedes has been a little bit early.
Yeah, I mean, we got some great stuff from Audi already, Mercedes now. I'm assuming BMW is going to have some cool stuff.
Maybe some non-European ones too, like
we know Ford's going to be there.
Yeah.
Who else is going to be there from the US? I don't know. There's other European brands as well, like Citroen and all the Peugeot and Renault.
Yep. All right, should we jump into the comments?
Yep, let's get in there. So we should start with the Trevor Milton. We didn't start with it, but we got there pretty quickly. We got the audio fixed. All right, from Facebook, Musk, it's a deal, but you will have to put a gun to your head and pull the trigger. Cook, whatever you want, broski. We must have a killer new product pronto. All right, that's interesting.
A little scenario in your head there.
Right. Yeah, hopefully not. So Elon blocking Electrek. Yeah, is he still blocking Electrek? I didn't check. I haven't checked.
I didn't check. I'm still blocked though, personally. Oh. I feel like it's a personal insult to myself. I feel very, very insulted, Elon. You dub well, John, Elon.
Yeah, he's done that. He's done that to other journalists.
Yeah. For people who don't know, he's previously told another journalist that the reason he blocked them is for him to feel insulted.
Right.
So I'm betting on the fact that if I let him know that I'm insulted, he will feel like he has done his job by blocking me.
It just seems weird because we're assuming that was over the Jamie's post about it's weird because you didn't post anything. It was Jamie, but it's also weird that why not just defend your side of the thing versus the other,
Look, he doesn't have to. That's the thing. He doesn't have to, and he can block me all he wants. I'm fine with it. I'm not gonna, people say, "I'll stop whining about." I'm not whining about it. He can do it. I would like an explanation of why, because again, I think that we agree with Musk on 90% of the things. And I don't know why there's this thing that people have these days where if you disagree on one thing or you disagree even on part of something, and that makes you the enemy for some reason. This is so common these days. We cannot focus on the thing we agree with. It's just and discuss just civilly the things we disagree with. Is just oh, you're an enemy now. We have to treat you like an enemy. I just don't get that.
All right. Well, Fred, have you ever blocked anybody on Twitter because they disagreed with one thing?
Not with one. I blocked a lot of people on Twitter, but the main reason I block people on Twitter is when they call me either a Tesla shill or a Tesla short. These people, I cannot deal with you because you already branded me as the enemy when you do that. And then everything else you say on those people, I cannot discuss it. So that's the thing. So it sounds like Elon did that with me. He branded me as the enemy, and you're blocked. But I'm not. I'm just not. I just disagree with him on some things.
All right. Green Gold brings up a really good point. The fact that GM thought about a partnership with Trevor Milton and Nikola is very troubling. Yeah. What is going on with GM's M&A group there? They're just like a mess, a circus. What was the other? They had another really bad idea. GM had some other.
Well, they had several things going on with Nikola. They
Right.
had like an ownership thing, like they were going to take a stake in it, and
Right.
then they were going to produce the Badger for them. So then they killed the Badger, and they were still going to like work on that. And they were working on hydrogen with them too. So like they had a bunch of different deals, and yeah.
Yeah, and I think there was like a GM board member on Nikola's board or something who
Well,
was
the guy that did the SPAC deal for
Right.
them for Nikola was a former GM executive.
Right, and I'm sure it was all shady behind the scenes. But I mean, that does not, like, GM's management is already taking a lot of heat right now for all the other screw ups that are doing. This is not. It doesn't help. They really may want to think about rejiggering that whole.
Yeah, and
thing,
even
right?
Mary Barra was like, because she was like directly asked, like, "Did you guys do any due diligence on this?" And he's like, "Yo, our due diligence teams look into it, and we thought it was perfectly fine." And
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. So more on Nikola. Do you know if the Tesla Cato battery pilot line is producing at anywhere close to the 10 gigawatt hour maximum? I'm going to say no.
I mean, 10 gigawatt hour is volume production by any stretch of the
Right.
imagination. So if they're saying that they are nowhere near, well, no, not nowhere near volume production, but they're not there yet, then yeah, for sure they're nowhere near 10 gigawatt hour per of annual production.
All right. Tesla's website is not letting you place orders for the Cybertruck anymore.
Well, do you mean like?
Yeah, like reservations or whatever.
Yeah, because
I don't even see it on the website.
Well, they hide it, but you can access it through the menu. But yeah, if that's new, that's strange. They should at least let you make a reservation for it.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Cybertruck is there. I just typed it in. Tesla.com/Cybertruck. Order now. Hit the button.
Yeah, me too.
They will take your $100.
Yeah. Maybe it was just thinking that since it's not in the top menu anymore, you couldn't, but it's on the side menu, and you can also just Google it, and you're gonna end up on the
or just Tesla.com/Cybertruck.
Yeah.
All right. Tesla Megapack has caught fire. Yes, we covered it this morning in the new Australian battery storage facility.
Yeah, there's not a lot we know about it. They're still investigating the cause of it and everything. The only good news I would say about that is that it didn't propagate to the other pack, because it's a giant project. There's a ton of Megapacks in there. So the main thing you want is if there's a problem with one, you don't want all those Megapack to go in flame, because it's like $100 million project. And also, like, environmentally speaking, it's bad. And that's one of the things that was bad about it. Like, they had to like put an air quality alert in where the wind was blowing and everything, because like there's this 3 megawatt hour in one of those things. Like, when the whole thing burns, it burns for a while and it releases a lot of fumes. So yeah, I mean, it's not a pipeline exploding, or it's not the Gulf of Mexico being on fire, but it's not great either.
Ryan Reeves says the Texas dealership lobby is huge here in Texas. The state legislator will need the factory up and running until any bills are passed to open up sales.
That seems short-sighted, but he's probably right, I would assume.
Yeah, it shouldn't really have to get to that. I mean, there's plenty of Tesla employees in Texas getting paid right now. I don't see why they need to wait for that. All right, Aaron Brady says, Seth, you mentioned your participation in a VPP. That's a virtual power plant. I'm not in that, actually. Do you get your demand?
Not the Vermont one? Did you ever? No, you didn't opt in on that one.
Yeah, there was a bring your. You know what? I don't know if I ever did, actually.
But anyway, that's not a Tesla VPP though, Aaron. The new Tesla VPP is the one in Vermont does use Tesla Powerwalls, but it's not managed by Tesla.
Yeah,
it does use the Tesla Auto Bidder though.
Yeah, and I did not get any check from Tesla.
Well, you got your check for
Connected Solutions.
Tesla Shield, though, right?
Yeah, I got the Tesla Shield check. That's a monthly thing. All right. hotspot does not turn the car into a hotspot. It allows you to use a hotspot while driving. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I don't know how you could have put that in the title.
That's what we meant, but like it's still a hotspot feature. Like you can. Well, yeah, I guess I could have said you use Wi-Fi while driving instead of just Wi-Fi while you're parked.
Yeah,
it's just harder to explain. Like,
yeah,
have to put this thing in like a limited headline, people. Like it's
headlines can't be too long, guys. Yeah. Why would one want to turn off the mirror auto dimming?
There's some reason for it. Off the top of my head, I can't come up with one, but I'm sure there's some reason to it for it. While backing up at night, you can't see anything. Yeah, I mean, at night it's definitely not always great, depending on the lighting situation. Like if there's a light shining on it, it doesn't work great.
Oh, Adam Wilcox, we didn't talk about the Bolt this week. Please keep the pressure on GM to finalize and provide a detail to their proposed fix. We did
put a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah, it's hard to put any more pressure on them.
Yeah, you could argue we were really leading the coverage on that front.
For sure. And you know, I should also mention it's not easy to do that because we're obviously electric vehicle advocates. We want to make sure that people aren't unnecessarily afraid of electric vehicle battery fires. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it's like there's a specific problem, and the company really was dragging their feet on it.
Yeah, in the Electrek newsroom, there were some discussions about that. How we approach this thing? Like, was we felt like GM wasn't handling the issue correctly, but we also felt like, all right, if we just keep posting headlines about battery fires all the time, are we making more of a negative thing or than the positive one? But I think people understand, like, this is like there's a problem with some of the cells, and if there is one, like with any auto manufacturer, we have to address that. But in this case, like, GM seemed to be dragging their feet and not fix the issue, which I think that is going to be more negative for EVs long term.
Yeah, especially as the Cadillac Lyriq and the Hummer are both coming out shortly, so you want to kind of get that fixed
out of the way, so that you can start anew with new programs.
All right, Green Gold said, is Tesla's 4680 battery production behind schedule? Yes. And that's why they have a backup plan with the 2170s.
Yeah, that was the curious part of the whole the whole earnings. I thank you, Green. I forgot to mention it during our podcast. But when Elon was like, we even have a plan. If the 2080, the 4680 are not ready, we're gonna produce the new Model Y in Texas and Berlin with a new, like, in a hybrid pack with the new casting, but with 2170 cells, which is not going to be a structural pack, because the structural pack, my understanding, requires the 4680 format. So that was the big tell for me that Tesla is behind schedule for 4680 cells. Because if they are thinking about this backup plan, or if they're not behind schedule, they expect that they could be soon. So because again, they talk about this 10% bottleneck in the manufacturing process, but sometimes like just 1% of the production process can require 90% of the work that you do on that production process. It's crazy.
All right. Maintenance is basically a support cost, which covers software fixes and updates. It is standard for commercial products, even commercial software. Well, so we're talking about the...
Yeah, so you might be hinting at the fact that AutoBidder might be included in that too, and yeah.
All right, I think the difference here is that they told us about their backup plan. I'm sure they always have contingencies. We're talking about the batteries again.
Yeah, but he wouldn't mention it like that on a public call, if it wasn't like more likely than not that they could use it. Like if it was just like this backup plan, like you hire several different suppliers just in case one of them is not gonna deliver, like you don't mention that. Like, it's just this seemed like more likely than not to me.
All right, we're getting toward the end of the comments here.
$10 EV stock, that doesn't mean anything. Like, you could have a good buy at $100 for an EV stock. You can have a good buy for $1. It's just
this is a good question. All right, the Jose asked, why is Elon out of nowhere suddenly siding with Epic on the Apple versus Epic case? I mean, $10,000 for FSD, which isn't fully available yet. So two things there. One, the epic case is that Apple, pulls 30% of whatever goes through the App Store. It's an interesting timing because the Elon Apple thing came out earlier in the day, but we've also kind of speculated or questioned why Apple has let Tesla sell FSD and other updates and stuff without charging users 30%. And there's something in the App Store which kind of ambiguously says it's fine for them to do that. But I think, perhaps Elon's afraid at some point, Apple's going to start coming in,
do we know why they're not? Because you can buy it through the Tesla app. Like I can buy it right now on the Tesla app.
Yeah.
I have an iPhone, and it's a App Store Tesla app.
Yeah, there was some Ben Mayo, one of the guys on the Mac team, had like there's some there's like 5,000. Yeah, there's some loophole in there where Tesla is a little bit protected. I can't remember what it is. Something about services or whatever. But those things are kind of gray areas, and you always wonder, like, if it feels emboldened, they could come in and say, "Oh, you're getting $10,000 from our iPhone users for your full self-driving software. We're going to take 30% of that," which would
that would be crazy.
It would be crazy.
I'm just like so I can get if he's going after that to like you see where it's going and everything, but right now isn't Epic like trying to sell you like microtransaction inside their game, their App Store game? Like, because I don't sorry, but I don't care that Apple is taking 30% of that. Like,
yeah,
it's that's the thing here. I get where he's coming from, like that if in the future it means like, oh yeah, like they take 30% of something that they have very little to do here, but like the App Store is a marketplace, like for them. It's just like the stream, like I get it for games. Like people want their games to rank high on the App Store. That's a revenue thing. So yeah, Apple is taking a percentage of that, but yeah, it's completely different. I feel like Tesla's upgrades to the apps for your car. And at the end of the day, like, because here's the thing: at the end of the day, you don't need to buy them through the app. I can go on the Tesla website and buy them through that too. So, like, Tesla would just I don't see the fear that much for Tesla on that front, because they would just shut it down through the app. It's just like, don't do it through the app, just do it through your website. And you could go through the app, and they would give you a link to the website where it would just pop up on your browser instead, and just do it. Like, I just don't see the issue there.
Yeah, it's always curious because, obviously, like things like Netflix, they don't want to pay Apple 30% of their, revenue coming in. Mm-hmm. And they would, I'm sure, be happy to open up a web, web page or whatever. But I think Apple doesn't let them do that. It's going to be decided here pretty soon. I think it's going to go. I think the government's kind of going to figure it out at some point here soon.
Do we know which way they are leaning? Because I don't see Epic having a case, to be honest, on that front. Like,
yeah, I think they'll probably have some sort of creative solution, like, hey, just open up a web browser, or something. Apple doesn't let people open up a web browser and make a transaction, but if they did do that, I think most people would opt for that. So I don't see why they don't do that. Anyway.
But like Jake's online has a good point. Apple doesn't take 30% of your Amazon in-app purchases. Like, what's like, we see a difference between like having a video game with microtransaction and relying on the App Store to sell your video game versus having an Amazon app versus going on the Amazon browser on your phone. Like this, like we get the difference here. Like, this is kind of obvious to me.
Yeah.
So I don't get why Elon's not making that distinction between the two. But
I think he might be afraid of some future products. Like, maybe he's gonna, maybe the software, maybe the handheld software is gonna be different, or maybe he'll offer games in the Tesla app, or like maybe the Tesla network. they'll charge, I don't know how they deal with the Uber and Lyft, but maybe, Apple's going to take a chunk of that. I don't know. So anyway, I think that's
all
the
right.
end.
That's pretty much it for us this week, guys. Thanks a lot for listening. Thanks a lot for watching on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, on wherever you're watching right now. And wherever you are watching right now, if you can give us a thumbs up, a like, whatever it is on your app, we'd appreciate it. It's free and it helps the show more than you think. It push up us the list and up the list on the algorithm out there. And if you're watching on audio only on your podcast app, if you can leave us a review there with a little 5-star, that's also chef's kiss. Helps us a lot. So thanks a lot. And I hope you guys have a good weekend. We're going to see you same time next week.